Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel in my lecture series Language, Litigation, and Integration Part 207, Normalizing Abuse. As you can tell from my channel, it's been a while since I've uploaded. That's again solely because of financial stress. I've had to get a full-time job. We'll be talking about that as well. But what we're going to be doing in this episode is, again, the main function of this lecture series continues and will continue to remain documenting ongoing crime that's being committed against me. My constitutional rights, Article 1, Section 8, Subsection 7 of the United States Constitution gives me the right to publish my writings and my discoveries. I have a 40-page technical thesis that covers mathematics, linguistics, physics, and economics published on the internet. I have not received proper publication from a state university, which is literally directly illegal. And so that has destroyed my income potential as well as my property. The solutions that are contained within my thesis equate to about $12 million. They are bona fide, and fundamental geometric proof is not something you can debate or have some doubt about it. It is a fundamental geometric proof with undeniable language to go along with it. So in addition to the actual monetary value of what the proofs are, not recognizing my work publicly when everybody's clearly distributing it privately, which is against the Fifth Amendment of the United States, has destroyed any income potential, which is even more damaging than simply not having the $12 million that is contractually owed to me from the Millennium Problems, which is a public contract, as well as other things like the Nobel Prize or just other things that are contractually posted publicly. If you solve this, you get this money. I definitively solved that, and now it's just radio silence, except for the 100 different people that have come up to me in person and referenced this stuff, and they just won't do their job because they're hypocrites. So that is the function of this lecture series. I'll be reflecting on the past year. We'll be defining mental illness. We'll be discussing the invisible child prank, which, if you don't know what that is, that's like, again, 10 family members will stand around a kind of a young child between, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of age. They'll put a blanket over him. They'll act like they're going to make a disappearing act. When they pull the blanket off, they all act like they don't know the kid's there. And it kind of freaks the kid out. So we'll be talking about that, how that's not really an analogy to my life. As well as the 2 days, 2 months, and 2 year cycle of the human attention span, as well as being a scapegoat. So, in reflecting on this past year, kicked off the year, my parents tried to get me institutionalized in a mental institution for, again, wanting a livable wage because they can't take responsibility for their actions, which they neglected their child's educational needs my entire life. And somehow, again, the only function of this lecture series is for me to make some money. Like, if any parts of any of these things confuse you, I just need an economic opportunity. I'm currently going to be living on right around $22,000 to $24,000 a year. I'm working full-time because of my income potential being destroyed. So if anything confuses you, it's just that I'm a grown man having to wait tables at a country club at the age of 30 because of prolific crime. And just nobody cares because nobody has any values. And so now that kicked off the year great. And so since that interaction, again, my mom literally said in person that it's not an issue about the money. My parents think that they're giving me money. I literally sold them a piece of my alcohol company, which again can't receive a product because the FDA is incompetent and science is being, again, fraudulently restricted over all domains. And so my research has direct relevance to receiving a product on my alcohol company. And so all I really want to do is, again, get paid so I can focus on creativity, making these videos, be, again, demonstrating and creating research and valuable products and innovating. But that's not possible if you don't have any stable cash flow. So again, if anything confuses you about this, I just want a way to make money. I have clear property on the internet. I've clearly been the victim of crime. I have no family support. I have no community support, and I am a scapegoat. And how do you be a scapegoat? You exist. You just exist. It's not you. People have come up to me directly again after those cops were swatting me last year. Again, just some random dude walks down the street, clearly involved in this federal operation, like, it's not you, man. But it is me. I exist. I am more mature than people. I have an extremely dominating presence. And when people get offended by that, well, I'm going to offend people for simply existing. And I mean this literally, like not saying words, literally just being in other people's presences. And when they're blurting and projecting out their insecurities and I don't react to it, they think there's something weird with me. It's because I don't behave like a 14-year-old fucking child that never grew up. And so after you offend people for existing, the person you offend says, do I have to respect or answer to this person? Not is this behavior right or wrong, not is this a good or bad way to treat somebody. Respect is the easiest thing to give somebody, and it's free. And then once you lose respect, they don't have respect for you. And so, but the person that I will offend will say, do I have to respect this person? Again, not is the behavior that I'm doing right, not is it not even if it's flatly illegal, not if they have professional obligations, not if the other person's being tortured. They don't care.
They say, does this affect my life and do I have responsibility for this? And now they're already offended. So once they say no to that question, they're going to punish the scapegoat with any authority they can. Whether that's a cop swatting me at my house, whether that's my mother breaching contract of a financial agreement. Again, after I bought my house, if I would not have bought my house, if I knew my parents would not honor, again, their word, which they're just hypocrites. Mother and father, if you watch this, I don't care if you're offended. You tell me, figure it out financially, and when you breach a contract, the normal business thing to do is to sue the person. That is the normal thing to do. But then practically, how do you file a lawsuit when I've already filed a legitimate lawsuit against OSU to publish my paper, and they just say, fuck off. And then they come to me in person and tell me we can do whatever we want. We'll get to like the alien stuff later, but again, it is so limited to what my research really encompasses, and I don't give a fuck about disclosure of UAPs, aliens, whatever. I have plenty of my own interactions. In the same way, if you out there have a spouse and you didn't post a video of you guys having sexual intercourse, it doesn't mean it didn't happen. And so society is so just children that I don't care to convince anybody of anything on that stuff. To me, way more important than identifying and solving a fundamental geometric problem is something that anybody at any point in human history could have done, and is profoundly more involved, and something I would like to talk about or have some sort of acknowledgement for is the solution to again unifying the number fields. I independently completed the Langlands program, which is, again, if you know anything about research mathematics, that is monstrous. And I did that shit in a fucking hour, dude. So it's like, whoa. You guys can't disclose some technology and we'll get to that stuff. I don't care. I just want some way to make money. Whether that's this international government group that can do basically whatever they want, that you said to me, throw me in the back of a van. I won't say anything, scrub anything I've posted. I don't care. I just want some way to make money. Again, any point of this video that confuses you, my rights are violated, I want to make some money. I will never have a career or a family until that happens. And that is all I'm trying to resolve. But I would need one person to give me one opportunity, one time. That has not occurred, and nobody cares about anything. And so, after that, again, after the lovely interaction with my parents, at the beginning of the year, and I spent every day, again, from probably January to September, again, making at least 1 or 2 YouTube videos every single day. I have a ton of skill sets in research, in music, in economics, in business development, in invention, in patent law, in constitutional law. And I can't get one opportunity from one person one time. And then I did my life, I'll never get abused like this again. And I've endured this abuse my entire life. I have never gone 2 days without something minor happening, 2 months without something pretty big happening, or 2 months without something major happening, and then after 2 years, people just goes away. And after that 2-year mark, they literally treat you like you actually did something bad because you offended them. And you didn't do anything, you just existed. And then they misremember what happened, and then they just keep compounding, and it ruins your reputation. And now again, every time I get mad and angry, which is the most normal human reaction to having your property destroyed and your life endangered because of that property destruction, and saying that go fuck yourself, like you have a mental illness. So what is mental illness? I think just an overarching definition is anybody who cannot control their behavior. And so when I try to appease my mother in the most degrading experience of my life, and this social worker, who again is a fraudulent degree, because you just came from a school that's distributing my property, is like, I won't even shake your hand. And it's like, I am literally here to try to appease my mother because she has blamed me my entire life, and it's just a collective bullying from a community of people. And when I criticize them, they get offended. And again, the only reason I have never been financially stable. I live at poverty level income, literally. I work full time. I can't get a meaningful job or employment or collect my property because of crime. And then somehow we just can't accept that, because when we look back and say, that doesn't make us look good. But you didn't behave in a good manner. So I'm not going to be soft about that. And so I spent that entire, from January to September, making as much video content as I could to hopefully generate a career. All I need is $2 to $3 grand from YouTube money, and I could be perfectly comfortable making videos. And the only reason I've stopped for the past 2 months is just because I have to settle into a new job. I have to normalize this abuse. Anybody who's really been abused, you know that even if you can look at the world and say, this is fucked, if you can still sometimes carve out some sense of normalcy within that pattern of abuse. And it's only when I try to break out of that pattern of abuse that people start calling me a threat. And so it's like, okay, I'll just sit here under this rock, like my old high school teacher, Mrs. Hatch, said, get back in your cage. But 30 years of age, I've never, I'm legitimately looking into going to food pantries and stuff. I am poor because of crime. And so it doesn't matter what chunk of principal I have in my bank account, without the potential for new income, and I have to generate interest on that income, and I have probably about $250,000 of liquid assets right around 210, probably 200 in the bank, but I have to generate, I'm getting 4% on a money market account. And so even though if you have, like, oh my gosh, you have $200,000, I haven't been able to make income in 10 years, my entire adult life. And so I need that base principle to generate, $600, $800 extra a month. Then I'll get, $10,000 from my alcohol company, which I had to renegotiate that under, again, criminal circumstances. My constitutional rights are violated, my credentials are not public. And then so my alcohol company, the original contract was 3.5 years for $10,000 a year stipend, and $1 million deposit and $1 million in legal work once we got a product. We can't get a product because the FDA is fraudulent. They won't publish my research, which has a direct, intimate knowledge or consequences for healthcare. And it's a proof. It's not. You guys have never been exposed to this level of proofing, but it's no different than saying 1 + 1 = 2. It couldn't be anything different. And so you guys just don't know how to behave, and you certainly are not scientific thinkers at all, and it's a proof. There's no scientific debate, there is no hypothesis, here is a fact. I do facts. And so, I spent the alcohol company, after the 3.5 years, in any normal reading of the contract, it'd be after 3.5 years, it's a renegotiation period. And then my alcohol partners, again, Robert Hemphill and Marty Magid, they say, no, that's just the total payment, and then we just have the rights to it if we get a product indefinitely. So that's borderline extortion for my wonderful business partners, because it's extremely neglectful and, again, exceedingly unethical for them not to file complaints. My constitutional rights are violated, and it affects my property, which is also your property. And so, again, it's just dumbfounded. People will disrespect you. They'll assert any authority over you can, which they've done is say, okay, well, this is the contract. This is a contract. And it's like, I don't have constitutional rights. The law's a joke to me, because I'm the victim of crime in the most egregious and most fucking prolific way possible. And then so they send me another addendum, like, okay, we'll pay you the $10,000 per year for the next 5 years, and then there'll be a renegotiation period, but the dollar figure amount won't exceed 10 grand. And thank you, Robert Hemphill and Marty Magid, again, whose son went through a law school. While the law schools are distributing my property, you guys are just so low down on the information wrong, you don't know that they are directly stealing all of my research. There is no way my research doesn't intimately affect the law or the teaching of all the disciplines that my research has tentacles in, which is everything. And so basically I got borderline extorted out of that. That would give me another, again, $800 a month, $10,000 over a year. You just get one chunk payment. And then so, I have probably $1,500 in investment income. But again, if I lose my HVAC system or something, now owning a home, as opposed to renting somewhere, or something home maintenance, if something big happens, well then my initial capital is going to get depleted and I won't have as much income on a monthly basis. And so that's fun. But I spent the entire, that entire chunk of time producing YouTube videos, again, one, to try to generate my own opportunity, whether it's being a successful YouTube channel or just having a skill demonstrated where I can get a job. I would love to, again, work on anything in translation. I have tons of exposure in language. You guys watch my presentation where I can literally predict people's language in real time, timing, like literally saying the things at the exact same times they do on anything. Literally anything. I can derive based on sounds. I can derive in languages I don't semantically know. And so I want to be able to do my research. So the highest thing I would like to be is out of the United States in a country where I don't really have to drive that much. Again, most of my necessities could be in a walking distance, which you would need to have some money because any prime location living situation is going to be expensive. And being able to teach math, or teach something, kind of at a university level. Now, granted, again, I want to found my own institution, but the entirety of academia is legitimately fraudulent. They are distributing my property without citing their sources. It is theft of intellectual property. It is my research. It is my discovery. And so many people involved, they just don't feel responsibility for it. And so during that time that I'm making these videos, I legitimately got the state of Colorado attempted to extort me. They said I owed $8,000 in short-term trading profits when I had made $16,000 in a year. And so that was super awesome and fun. And again, each time that I have to deal with anybody on, whether it's the Department of Revenue from Colorado, when I bought my truck, any sort of these interactions, again, my presence is going to offend you, and then for existing, and they're going to say, do I have to respect or answer to this person? They're going to say no, and then they're going to assert any authority over me they can. Whether it's, again, I told you about, I literally got banned from Flyers Pizza right down my road with no confrontation at all. Like, literally nothing. Like, I just called to order one day, and they're like, you've been blacklisted, we won't serve you. And I've never had a single it's a drive-through. Like there's never been a confrontation, there's never been any mean words exchanged. There's never been more of an exchange between me handing them my credit card, saying thank you, and driving away, literally. The tonality of my voice scares people because people are so profoundly uneducated. Education has really ruined my life. Like I said, being a bad person wouldn't help my life, but being a good person literally got me tortured, literally. And so, then I got sorted by the state of Colorado, and then again, my mom said in April, that's when she initially said she was going to breach the contract, and then so I spent the next 6 months, pumping out as much YouTube content as I could. I finally started to get some return from my bar and restaurant, and so again, maybe like the month of July, maybe had income of like $3,500. So I was able to spend a couple $100 on YouTube advertising. Finally got a little bit of traction. Again, if I could afford $200-300 a month to just promote the music on my YouTube channel, I could get a couple thousand subscribers for sure. And so, don't know if I would get the watch time, but again, I just need one clip to go a little bit viral one time. Again, I don't know, $3 grand a month of residual money, which is just literally another $1,500 from some source, and then I could focus on being creative, would just blow my mind and make my world. But that would never occur. And so then I have another anxiety, and this entire time I'm food insecure. Since you guys started directly harassing me all the way back at Grafton Park through HQ Flats and now to my house, I've been food insecure the entire time. And so, but that happened through, and then September on my birthday, I was just like, I asked my mom again. She doesn't like listen. I don't know why, but I literally asked, can you do half of the loan? And again, this is her breaching a contract. This is not me asking my parents for money. I've sold them part of my company, which is still active and going, and as soon as we have a product, it is a multi-billion-dollar business. CBD, cannabinoid-enriched alcohol, is healthier alcohol. It is. But that would require any competence from the FDA or from the academic institutions which give these people these degrees. But they're so entrenched in fraud and so absolutely pathetic, they would never change their behavior. And so September rolls around and my mom's like, okay, but this is the last one, then you have to figure, I hope it bridges some time for you, then you have to figure it out. And the thing to figure out is, who do I sue? Because you were in breach of contract. That is a normal business thing. That's not a threat. It's not me being mean. I made a major financial decision. I bought this home for $350,000. I could have put that all over the market in fixed income this year from 4 to 5%, easy. And on 600, whatever the bank, it was like 650 probably I had in total cash assets. That is again over $35,000 or like $33,000. Completely residual off of interest. Add the $10,000 from the alcohol stipend, and I'm finally living on $45,000 a year. And instead I have to work full time, and I'm going to clear maybe $22,000 a year. And so absolutely the worst year of my life, but it just gets worse. Like, it never actually gets better. Nothing ever gets better. And that's just the reality. And so then obviously October rolls around, and pretty much with no warning, my illiterate, awful, horrible, bad person of a business partner, Cario Ballard, emails me and says, this has been way too much stress. I'm shutting down with really no warning to me, losing me $50,000. He was an awful business partner. He's not a good person. He lies. He's disrespectful. He literally called me a random white boy when I gave him money to invest in his business. And then operationally, he can't do anything positive. Because we closed down with like $420,000 in revenue, which you should be able to turn a profit on that, but that would require competence. But again, he never he owned more shares, so I couldn't even get into try to manage or try to do something. It's always just these pathetic people that assert anything over you. And the hilarious thing is, even when you give people $50,000 and own the business, they say, do I have to respect or answer this person? And when they're the majority shareholder, they really kind of don't. And then they just say no, and they punish me any way possible. Meaning they don't let me operate, or they don't let me make decisions. It's literally the business that I own. So that was fun. And so I lost that income as well. And so that's out of business. And now that I got this job at this country club, the job's not too bad in terms of workflow. Again, under the context of extreme abuse, like trying to normalize this, carve out a pattern of life, even though my constitutional rights are violated, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is violated, and everybody's aware of it, and nobody gives a fuck because they just don't care. People that don't care about science, people don't care about decency, and so that's kind of what happened there. As an actual server, I'm literally a waiter at a country club. It's not too bad. Again, the biggest concern for me is literally my back. And second, actually being the workflow of a server is not too bad in terms of you have a couple of pinch points of high stress. A bunch of people come in at the same time. You have to write down all their orders. You get a bunch of tables. So I'm not the best server, but I'm not too bad at it. I did drop one plate already, 2 Nashville hot chickens, right on the ground, right in front of the customer. So that's pretty solid. But I've gotten better at my tray carrying skills. But I don't think carrying a tray, even with a lot of plates, is too bad. The weight is not too bad, and the balance is not bad. But we just have these swinging doors that are just seem too tight, and then the country club that I work at has like a formal dining room and just kind of a more relaxed dining room. And getting into the formal dining room, the tables are so close together. So it's not even gets to the point where it's not even the trays hard to carry or hard to balance. It's just trying to maneuver through all of these people with the legs to put the tray down on. Gets very jammed, so it's some high stress there. But after you drop the food and you give the quality check, there's not too much stress. But I've already been harassed and denigrated by the sous chef at the place I work at. I'm not gonna give you too much specific details because I currently work there and trying to keep my documentation of criminal activity separate from my current employment. But let me make sure my camera's still rolling. And so for the two again, just a super minor instance of being a scapegoat, and then a major instance of being a scapegoat already at the job. So again, whatever job I'm doing, because the only thing I want again is to be able to sustain basic finances. So it's not like I'm not over there, I have to work with a bunch of 18 to 24-year-olds who again are, and it's just amazing because they're all talking about their college degrees they're getting. All of the people that I'm serving in this in this country club are wealthy. A lot of them are very prominent, but they're all talking about their trips and what degrees their kids are getting. And it's just like that world that I've worked for is literally right in front of me, and you just get to watch other people live the life that you've rightfully earned. And so, but regardless, whatever work I'm doing, I take honor in it. I take integrity, and I'm trying to do the best I can, be the best server I can, even though my life is fucked. And so I try to do the job the best I can. And besides the minor hiccups, again, I dropped one tray, which was really the only actual failure of duty in terms of what my responsibility, what I have to be able to do to be a server. So that's really been the only drop or incompetence from my end. But again, that's just a learning curve. But because at our restaurant we didn't have big trays and super fancy formal. And I'm not a huge fan of you have to have the fork this close to the knife, and it's just you do want the table to look presentable, but over attention to detail, the customers and the members don't care. And so I think it is a little too formal, or unnecessarily formal sometimes. But regardless, so last Thursday, I probably had 5 tables coming at once. And so I'm hustling around, bustling. This older couple orders their food. And so as I'm hustling and bustling, I go to check on them, haven't been to the table in a couple minutes, a little bit. And so they're like, we wanted the soup to come out first. And so, again, they didn't explicitly say that when they dropped the order, but probably should have asked. But again, they just order in a way where it's it sounds like they want the food together. They'll order a main entree and then the soup after, or the salad after. It's I'm assuming they wanted it to come out together. My bad, could have clarified if they want the soup out first. Regardless, I literally go directly from the table that I'm serving back to the kitchen to ask the chef about have they ordered the food. So the server's responsibility, and on a busy night we have runners, so the server is really just taking down the orders and entering it into the POS system. So the server's job is to field the order and serve the customer or serve the member. And so it's the kitchen job to prepare the food and know which plates or which tables have been run or the food has been dropped to. And so I fire the meals, just meaning you send the order to the chef. A little bit goes by, I'm thinking the food should have been out by now or been super close, but it is a busy night. So literally by the time that I walked from the table to the kitchen, couldn't have been more than 10 seconds. And then I go back there and ask the chef, has table 31 been dropped or been sent out? And he's looking through his tickets we don't have a 31. And so I'm like, okay, well, it's definitely in the POS system. And then at the same time, in this initial interaction, I hear the executive chef say, we just fired 31. And so I'm like, and then the sous chef is starting to bustle around. He's like, okay, I'll get the soup out now. And then gives me the soup, and I go back out there, and at that time, this whole process for me going from the table, 10 seconds into the kitchen, hustle and bustle for maybe a minute to get the soup, and then back out to the table, couldn't have been more than 2 minutes. And then the initial from the table to the kitchen, 10 seconds. And so I'm taking out the soup, and I see that they've received their full meal. And so I go back to the kitchen's hustling and bustling, again, for a lot of different things. And so I just trash the soup and go back out and get called to these other tables. And so in that process, I simply forgot to say, again, it wasn't clear to me from the executive. The executive chef said they had fired the food, and the sous chef said that they don't have the ticket. Then I see the food dropped, and I go back there, and they're busy doing a bunch of things, and so I just forget to say something or whatever, and then I get called to a bunch of other tables because even before that I went back and dumped the soup, a couple other tables had called me over. Hey, can you give me this? Hey, can you give me that? So I'm thinking the attention is to the detail of the member during a busy time, and so then I go and just attend to the other tables, and about 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, I have to go back into the kitchen. So I walk into the kitchen, and he just starts, I don't even remember what the sous chef was saying because I did not think he was speaking to me. And then after he finished saying whatever he was saying, he literally in a very derogatory tone was like, "Did you hear anything I just told you?" And I was like, "Sorry, dude, I didn't know you were talking to me." And so then he just starts berating me. He was like, I was like, "Well, they have their food." He's like, "Well, we already fired the food twice." And again, I see how much food they dump out every single day. 2 chicken breasts, maybe some rice and a couple pieces of bread and a salad is in no way a financial strain to the place that I work at. But he just starts berating me, and he's just yelling at me did you not check on the table? And I was like, and he said it in the context of, when did you check on the table? I was like, the reason I came into the kitchen was because I just checked on the table and they didn't have their food. And excuse me, I thought it would be a little more of the responsibility of the kitchen, of the executive chef, who said they literally fired the food, and the sous chef to know that the food had been run literally 20 seconds before I walked in there and asked them about that. Literally. They didn't remember the food that they had dropped and had a runner take out. It had to have been literally the last order, and then it became my fault for forgetting to say that the food had already been out there. But he kept just berating, "Did you check the table?" It's like, dude, the reason I came into the kitchen was I had just came from the table. And so, but then he just, absolutely just starts screaming at me, berating me, belittling me. And he's like, "Do you have anything going through your head? Do you know anything?" It's like, yeah, I ran a restaurant for 4 years, an alcohol company valued at $4 million if we just get a product. I have more scientific research than the rest of the species combined, but yeah, because I need health insurance, I have to hold down this kind of lower end job. Sorry, man, we lost 2 chicken breasts and 10 minutes of your time. And again, I cook a lot, but not actually. The benefit of this place is you get free food a lot, so you kind of get good meals there, so I haven't been cooking nearly as much. But regardless, the point being is this: the sous chef and the executive chef did not remember the order they just sent out, and that's the back of the house responsibility to know which food is going out when, not the server who's just delivering the food and taking the orders and delivering the food. But of course, the guy who's been there for 3 weeks at full, after training period, it's my fault. And again, what was the loss? When you're cooking something, you're not actively drop a chicken in the fryer. You assemble this, you let this cook. It's not like you're actively doing things for 10 minutes. So sorry, I maybe wasted 10 minutes of his time and 2 chicken breasts. And then just to be berated, belittled. I forget exactly what he said, but it was just, I would have walked out on the spot if I didn't need health care. So I'm gonna meet with the nice HR and see if I can get transferred. If not, I'll probably have to find a new gig. But again, I'm so fucked, man. There's not a lot of hourly places that pay benefits. I've been looking into maybe Lowe's. I think they give benefits after 30 days. But as long as it's a job that I can do and it doesn't destroy my back, I don't mind working. I would love to do a job that's competent or comparable or relevant to my skill sets, which is basically everything, because I have so much diversity in what I've developed in terms of skill sets and property. But everybody that knows that could help me in that environment won't. And so it's fun to rub shoulders with all of these wealthy people. They get to live their lives, and it's just you see all of these. I worked Thanksgiving, and you just see all of these beautiful fucking families. They get to big families, they get to sit down and have meals, a lot of beautiful women. And it's just if people would just say my name one time, I would be able to have the life that I've rightfully earned. But not, I get berated and belittled. I did have, I could say, and I apologize to Zusha, I was like, dude, what do you want from me? Because he just wanted to assert authority over me, and he's like, I just need you to shut up and listen. It's like, the sous chef in no way is my management or my boss, and the responsibility would have fallen on the back of the house, and what he did does classify as harassment. Now, I'm not some super soft dude, but the dudes at work, I don't trauma dump my life to people. It's they don't realize that this stuff happens every 2 months for me, literally, at the absolute maximum, and minor things happen every 2 days when I have to interact with somebody. And so that's always super fun. Again, I don't really care, but it's just it's a hostile work environment. It's just like I don't feel comfortable around people that disrespect me because of their own incompetence, and they can't take responsibility for their actions. And I could have been, again, I'm attenuating to the serving the member is my first priority. Again, sorry I forgot to relay to you that they did in fact receive their food, within the 5 to 10 minutes that I was serving the other tables. But to take no responsibility as the sous chef and the executive chef for not knowing that is literally the table you just sent out 10 seconds ago, you have way more responsibility to that, than to go on and berate and belittle somebody over 2 chicken breasts and a little bit of lost time is absolutely inappropriate. So that was the major thing that happened at work. I had another one at work where it was super minor, definitely not considered harassment, but another minor instance where, again, the kitchen, I put it into the POS system, I fire the food, it is now in the back of the house as a ball game. And so I take down this order, and it was a dinner time, so I do believe we had runners, but it doesn't matter if we had runner or not for this one. And so this kid orders a steak. We have a couple different types of steaks, he orders a steak. And so I put it in there, and it goes back there, and they start preparing the food. And then as I'm walking around doing water, attenuating to another table, probably about 8 minutes, 10 minutes after that, he's a young man, I don't know, like 15, 16, calls me back over, and he's like, actually, can I have this on the steak? Switch the sides, or put this extra sauce, or take the sauce off. I forget exactly what. And I say, sure, no problem, I just have to check with the chef, check with the kitchen. And then so I go back there, and I talk about it with the chef, and then the food comes out, and it is not how the young man wanted his food. And so I take the food back to the kitchen, and the chef's like, hey man, I know, not in an inappropriate tone, but again, like I'm gonna teach you that you did something wrong tone. Hey man, I know we talked about it on the kitchen, but you have to put it on the ticket. And there's another waiter there who's, again, 18, and he's like, everyone thinks because I'm 30, I'm some fucking idiot. I'm just the victim of crime, so I have to pick up any gig I can get. And like they're kind of like, you don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, guys, listen to what we just said. I got the order, came back and talked to you about the food. The problem there was it took 8 minutes. They were like, why didn't you put because when you put something into a point of sale system, you can add modifiers to change the order. And so they're like, well, I know we talked about it in the kitchen, but you have to put it on the ticket. It's like, did you forget? Did you guys have amnesia for the past 10 minutes? I took the order 10 minutes ago. He called me over 10 minutes later to switch it. There was no chance for me to put it into the ticket. And then I was like, so what do I do then? And then the other server was like, well, you go to the kitchen. I was like, that is literally exactly what I did do. Literally. So I can't change the ticket because it was entered 10 minutes ago. The young man changed his order 8 minutes later. What do you want me to do? I came back and clarified it with the kitchen, and then I get blamed for it. And it's just all of this stuff just adds up, and it never stops. It never gets better. And I have to be exposed to these situations because of financial stress. My old neighbor Adam, forget what, 2.5, 3 years now? Probably 2.5 years? You're asking me why am I still worried about money? Because I don't have income. Like, what kind of fucking question is that? I'm the victim of crime. I'm the perpetual scapegoat for all abuse. And I need one person to give me one opportunity, one time. All of the people that are aware of my work, why can't you give me a remote data entry job for 45 grand? Seriously, I don't care. I want some way to feel financially stable. And to have no definitive time frame. And again, if you would give me a time frame within 5 years, I could live on $50,000 for 5 years and not have to worry about money ever again. But not even a time frame for publication, which is directly illegal. A time frame for one opportunity, one time. That's it. That was all I will ever need to break this cycle and never be abused again. Or, to points where I don't care. Because I've never formed identity. I guess that's another thing I wanted to talk about was just what makes people, what gives you your identity? Well, what makes you you, right? Well, the first thing is probably your name. Well, first of all, it'd be spatial awareness from being a baby, but the first thing you would identify with is somebody calling your name. And so after your name, you would have stuff like sexuality. Who are you attracted to? Growing through puberty. And so I've never formed any sense of identity. Like when I see my name, I look at myself in the mirror, I don't feel like anything besides this is a dirty fucking animal. And that's all people ever tell me I am. And it's just like, I've never had a girlfriend of any meaningful stature. I told you about the wonderful Megan McCabe, how awful she treated me. Past that, I've never had a girlfriend to any level. I haven't kissed a girl in a decade. But the point being is, it's like there's a real sense of like you've never felt wanted before. And so it's like, it's a lot different than to be single and just be like not caring about sex or not being caring about relationship after you've had relationships as opposed to before you've ever had one. And so I've never really identified positively with my name. I've never identified positively with girls because I can't get a girlfriend. And in any real world, they'd be attracted to me, but I've been pushed out of social sentiment where people can't associate with me. And it is absolutely legitimate. My hometown people know that is exactly and completely effing true. And so, and then after your name, your education. You know, what do you study? What are you going to be your profession? And all of the research I've done, and just to be radio silence, besides again 100 odd people coming up to me extremely disrespectfully, again like Prashant yelling at or like getting mad at me on my porch at Grafton Park unsolicited and telling me to go back inside my house. It's like, don't make me jump over the fucking fence and crack your fucking head for real, man. But you can't, because again, people are actually always observing me. Again, it's not paranoia. Jesus fucking Christ, I am doing the most prolific science ever. People are going to observe that. And so, it's really, my life is a lot like the invisible child prank. They put the kid under the thing, they pull off the sheet, everyone acts like he isn't there, and then the prank just never stops. They just continue to act like he's never there, and the child's still freaking out, like, let me the fuck out of this. And then the only time they actually acknowledge that child individually is when they're punishing him. This part of the cycle is to assert any authority over the hand and punish them. So I'm not a threat. Getting angry at having your life and property destroyed is completely normal, and it's so absurd. Absurdity is the right word. One person can do the right thing at one time, and I stopped suffering. When I watched Lex Friedman, he said maybe somebody should have done something. You can still do something. You still have legal obligations to do something. You are still part of an organization committing crime, fraud, racketeering, conspiracy every day. All day. But nobody will ever do anything to help me. And so like I said, mental illness is anybody that cannot control their behavior. I am under the most profound, absurd crimes ever. I wake up, my house is in good order, cook, clean, all of that stuff. I have a full-time job that's it's hilariously outside of my credential range. And you're dealing with people who are demonstrably overweight. And so I just really wanted to, I have talking points again over the last 2 months, but I'm really, this video is completely just stories and current updates of all the crime being committed against me. We have a bunch more people that have reached out in a professional manner, and they have, again, committed crimes. So I'm making sure I'm still rolling and get to the talking points. So another fun interaction or just shift for my job, and so we served this thing called the Remarkable Evening, which hosted George Bush, and so it's hilarious. I was literally a server at an event with an ex-president of the United States, and our general manager is like hyping us up. He's like, this is one of the few times, how many people can say they stood in a room with a president? And it's like, wait until you guys realize that you're serving with a person that's literally combined to double the known mathematical theorems of the human species. But again, it doesn't matter what mathematics you do. It matters what people say. What people say about your work. It doesn't matter what you can do. You can be the most articulate vocalist in the world. Julie Fowles can write a song about you. Kevin Gates can write a song about you. If people don't let you get popular, there is nothing you can do to break this cycle. Literally nothing. And so I've really exhausted all. There's nothing else I can do to try to get out of the cycle. Somebody has to make the step, take the initiative to not stop breaking the law, stop committing serious international crimes, and stop just being a bad person. But I've not found interacted with a person capable of moral behavior besides myself. And so, at that remarkable evening, I find out that, again, my lovely ex-friend Jessica Johnson was there. Jessica, look, you get to eat nice fancy dinners. And so she posted it on LinkedIn, and I commented amazing, completely sarcastically, because I'm taking legal action against their family. She's married to Pete Ryan. Pete Ryan's dad is Jamie Ryan. Jamie Ryan literally came up to me in person, and I told you the story already, where he's like, you contact me when you want to make a lot of money. It's like, no, man, I'm owed a lot of money, and I know how to manage money, more importantly. So I never had any sort of meaningful cash flow investing in the open markets, which again, that lecture series has completely come to a halt because I have no expendable income to invest. And just like my poker series, just like my food series, my movie series, has all come to a stop because I have to try to make money, and I now make, again, probably about $22,000 a year, maybe. But I did. In a professional manner, I reached out to Bailey and Cavalieri, which is the firm that Jamie Ryan is a partner of. I talked to Christopher Birch, and I basically said, it's like, because it's just, again, my credentials are so ruined. I can't talk properly about what's going on. I am a lawyer, and you have not issued me a licensure is fraudulent. That is absolute facts. I've demonstrated knowledge and contributed more importantly to law than the United States Constitution, literally. And so, oh my gosh, they were still written by people. People still have different intellect levels, and it's like snails to me. So again, Alexander Hamilton was the worst writer I've ever had the displeasure of reading. But I talked to Christopher Birch, and I'm like, I'm legally trained. So he's like, no, you went to law school. That's again, it's like not like I'm gonna be polite with you as in like, let's see what this guy means. Like I have again contributed more to legal interpretation and judgment on law than the Constitution or anybody else independently ever. So that's a little more important than just some random dude with a law degree. How many people are lawyers? How many different specialties of lawyers are there? It's like I have influence in all of them. But it was just just a question, be like, what are you talking about, man? But I said I read a lot because there's no way to explain to somebody that's not open to hearing what my life is. Listen, there's no way to tell somebody. They just shut down. They have these emotional identity crisis, and they're just like, okay, fuck off, kid. And then I turn on CNBC and Carl Cantonina is up there like, oh, everybody knows. Where are these people? I'm interacting with a lot of wealthy people around. My neighbor Brock said, get out there. I'm literally serving food to people that could make one decision to change my life forever, and they are benefiting from the crime being committed against me. It's like, can I get out of this? I've literally been tortured continuously for 30 years. Like, absolutely. And again, I don't type that, and it's so fucking hilarious how actual emotional conveyance gets lost over text. Like, I'm not some sad dude, but I am being tortured. So when I say, fuck everybody, I'm being tortured, it's not like I'm sad or a threat or concerning behavior. You guys are committing crimes, and the concerning behavior is your mental illness. You can't control your own behavior. And look at all the fat people, and people say that's mean or something. If you can't control your behavior, you're insecure, you don't know how to behave. And so that is mental illness. Mental illness is not a distinct thing. Mind and body are the same things. And I just have this awareness that I am the victim of crime every single morning. When Carl Cantonina laughs and says, whoa, chuckles, whoa. It's not fun to be him in the morning. It's never fun to be me. Because you literally wake up out of sleep and realize, it's like, I want to do this with my day, I want to do this with my day, and you can't. There is nothing. And one person can do one thing to change that, and then hundreds of thousands of people could, and they don't. And then they blame me for it. And so... But then Christopher Birch wanted to correct my language, which is, again, just instant projecting. If you try to correct me logically, I can misspeak, but my capacity is absolutely certified bona fide. And so he says it's laws, not law. And again, I was referring to the body of law, of all statute and common law that exists. And so they confidently correct me incorrectly and then say, fuck off. And I basically, because what I said to him was like, I don't have enough money to fucking pay $350 an hour to have you guys write legal arguments shittier than I can do it. So I just write the legal argument, and then you can spend 1 hour maybe reading through it, making sure it's appropriate to put your stamp on it, and then we can go from there. And he just immediately shut it down. I was like, no, we're not going to put our name on something from not that stupid Brad guy, not the most articulate intellectual in all of human history, but we're too stupid to ever have any basic knowledge of research mathematics or where this current state of physical research is, which has been stagnated since like the fucking 70s. But yeah, man, because I can't afford it. And then we get back to the thing where it's like I literally filed a legitimate lawsuit against OSU, and they at that level, it's the team, we can do basically whatever we want. It has literally been said to me in person. There's an international group of people that are covering up this UFO things, and it's so little. Like I said, I don't give a fuck about that shit. It's completely real, legitimate. I'm the only real expert on that type of stuff. But at the same time, I don't care. The rest of my career options are fucked because you guys are liars. Okay. Give me a job. No, fuck me. And so, so I've legitimately reached out to Jamie Ryan's law firm, who is intimately aware of my research personally. And I offered again to do it the right way, and they just shut me down immediately. So you are facing a lawsuit for theft of intellectual property, fraud, and being part of a racket that is well aware of my constitutional rights being violated. And you guys receive continuing education and licensures from states that are distributing my property illegally. Absolutely, completely true. But David Paletta removed me from LinkedIn connection. Hilarious. Again, somebody I knew personally in college, who is now a teacher at Arizona State University. Because people want to distance themselves from the weirdo posting weird things on the internet when I posted the most normal tone ever, and I'm just literally stating facts. And so if you run from the responsibilities of your actions, the consequences will be worse. David Paletta, the instant that I have any influence in academia, and I'm the only person that's going to have influence the instant my work actually gets out there, you will not have a job in mathematics. You are a terrible person, you are a liar, and you are a theft of intellectual property. Cite your sources. You can't speak on number theory or anything in mathematics without directly citing my sources. And I knew you personally. Again, you had to pay $12 million to have lunch with Warren Buffett. Remember that one time when we sat on the porch? I was really shitty at guitar at that time. But I told you about, vibrating the strings into liquid and matching the resonance patterns. And that's literally how you can, like a radio tune into frequencies to resolve other creatures. Yeah, man, well, that was a personal lecture for you, dude. But, you get to be the mathematician. You get to literally do the job that I want to do. And again, I want to be out of the United States, but to be in Southern Arizona, being able to teach mathematics, having a stable job, I would say it's my dream, but it's my right, and I'm the victim of crime. So you are being sued, and you will be out of the job in mathematics as soon as I can. But again, I did a job interview at Panda Express. I went to a job fair where they were hiring a bunch of roles for a bunch of different positions, and I didn't even get an offer from Panda Express. So I can say so legitimately from the past 10 years of developing property and all of my educational background, where the reason I don't have a lot of PhDs is people really won't click one button on a computer, is that it is all bullshit, right? The only thing that matters is the ability to network. Some opportunity, whether you own a business, you need customers, you need somebody to give you a chance. Whether a job offer, you need somebody to give you a chance. And so, like I said, I applied for jobs from January till I got the job as a waiter throughout the entire year, and I never got one meaningful response. Literally not fucking one. And so they'll say, you turn on the TV and be like, I want somebody that had entrepreneurial experience. There's nothing in entrepreneurship you can do that I haven't done, truly. I want somebody with a good educational background that I have the highest. And then they'll brag like this. I don't even have a college degree. It's like, you guys are all privileged, man. Somebody gave you in some capacity, they gave you a chance. One opportunity, one time is all I need, and I would never be abused again. And until then, I will be abused every 2 days, 2 months, and 2 years, and I have been abused every 2 days, 2 months, and 2 years. And so, didn't even get the job at Panda Express. We talked about Adela's on Oak going out of business. But he sends me this email like, I've lost my family's house. I just want to kill myself. And I'm like, dude, don't trauma them. No offense, but I don't care. You lost me my fucking money, and I've already lost my family, man. I can't start a family of my own. I've already lost all of my relationships with my parents' family because of crime. It's so weird. People are literally in denial of science and they don't respect me, and so they somehow think that's not what they're doing, and then they just scapegoat me. It's never gonna stop. But my life is already destroyed, and so it's just people are so selfish and pathetic. They just live in their own little worlds. They never get out of their fucking house. They never get out of their own fucking head. And it's like, I'm a person too. I deserve dignity and respect, and my rights are destroyed. And so I did delete some LinkedIn posts. I just want to make absolutely clear that I'm not ashamed about anything. I just had to try to get employment. And so it's hilarious. You can't tell the truth because people look at you like, this dude's a concern or something. And it's like, I'm literally just the victim of crime, and when you type it onto the computer, people think you're like mad and emotional. And I'm like I'm the most mature organism around, literally, demonstrably. Reaching fundamental enlightenment is a physical state in the same way being 7 foot tall is a physical attribute. I don't process negative emotions, I really don't. And the thing that is just absurd is when I try to break out of this pattern of abuse and I get called a threat. And it's like one person can do the right thing one time and I never suffer again. But again, just watching hobby YouTubers, like I said, it's just so insane that people can put out videos and they have like an operating budget to be creative. If I could do that, man, again, just like stuff I would like to do, like even like metal detecting, going to look for some sort of like treasure hunting type of things. I like treasure hunting with Jeebus, like buying locker units, stuff like that. But a bunch of different hobbies that I've literally not been able to develop because of financial restraint. And it just sucks. It's like, you get one person to give me one chance and my shit would absolutely take off. Again, I could be a musical performer, I could be a researcher, I could be a content creator, I'm all of those things, and all of it is fraudulently restricted. But I connected with Brian Keating on LinkedIn and a job lead from John Cave. So shout out to John Cave, kid I went to high school with. This entire time, everything I posted, there's only been one person that reached out with me to even try to attempt to help me. His name was John Cave, so shout out to him in a good way. He sent me a job offer where he was working, or not a job offer, but a job lead to apply to a place. It's kind of like an administrative assistant, which again I'd be happy to do. But there was like 120 applicants on the thing. And it's like, me and John were like good friends or anything, so it's not like a good fit my character or anything. But it's like there's no chance if there's 120 people applied, I can't get a response to something where it says 5 people have applied on Indeed. Like I just get instantly denied. And it's whatever they're directly looking for. I directly have experience, and it's just like there's no chance like to actually get in the mix. And tons of experience with financial management, be it product development, anything in entrepreneurship and finance and money I've done. But I connected with Brian Keating. Again, Brian Keating is out of all of the treasonous criminals on YouTube that have scientific backgrounds: Sean Carroll, Eric Weinstein, Lex Friedman, Sabine Hasenfelder, anybody again in structured academia with a YouTube channel. You guys are, out of all the people responsible, you guys have the most responsibility because you have a platform. You know the research is correct. You know what they're doing is illegal, and you're just cowards. But out of all of those people, Brian Keating is like the most scummiest person of them all because he displays this shitty behavior that I hate. He wrote a book called Losing the Nobel Prize, and he's always making these little quirky jokes like, oh, why don't they talk about me as a great physicist? He doesn't like a tone where it's like, oh, ha, 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 but you can tell he's just passive aggressive, and he's actually kind of bitter because his identity is his job. And you've taken my identity from me in all capacity. Name, age, sexuality, job, income, education. All of that provides to your who you socialize with. All of that contributes to your identity, and I have none of those things. Literally not one. And so he immediately spams you with like, "Thank you for connecting. If you want to learn more about science," and it's like, how oblivious are you, fucking idiots? To which I literally, say, "Fuck you, you fat thief. Fuck your kid," because they are benefiting from crimes, and I don't have children because you guys won't tell the truth. So I'm literally, what you do to me, I say to you, and then I'm the worst guy. You are literally doing the actions, and I'm saying fuck you, and somehow I'm the threat or the bad guy. And so he comes back to me, it's like, "This is Brian, do not contact me again." And I say, "Fuck you, you fat fucking thief, no problem." Because when I have authority, it will be lawyers contacting you. It will be law enforcement contacting you. It won't be me. I will be on a nice country estate trying to live, finally decompressing from being tortured literally since childhood. Literally continuously. But again, that is just oblivious, selfish people in their own little world. And Brian, you are directly stealing from my research. You are directly benefiting from the theft of my research. You're a part of a racket that has committed conspiracy to defraud me out of everything I've worked for. You are fucked. You guys are all fucked. But then I'll mix it 2 different people. Brian Keating and Sabine Hasenfelder that have both directly interacted with me personally incorrectly about science while they're just floating around in their head like, more, another conference, another Nobel party, another lecture, another YouTube podcast where we just lie about everything. So again, running from your actions will result in more punishment than owning up to it. But also dispatcher number 408 and 405 from La Jolla, UC San Diego, failed in their duties to report crime. They need to be fired immediately and criminally prosecuted. We'll get to the aliens at the last, more on that. But I did have one interview for like a restaurant management role, which it was like at the end of the interview, the interviewer was like, I was concerned that you didn't say steps of service. Like, I guess that's a buzzword for the restaurant industry. But I literally, in the interview, I said operating procedures. Like, I had to improve the efficiency of the operating procedures. And it's just like, it goes over their head. It's like you deal with these people that are like way less qualified than you, because the steps of service is just specific to the restaurant industry, which is 100% a standard operating procedure. And so it's just like you can't even get into the mid-level manager range because everyone's fucking fat and have 4 kids and they're divorced 3 times. So they can't control their behavior, and then they compare your life experience or how you express yourself compared to them, and they say, what's going on? And the answer can never be, he's more competent than I am. That is never the answer, even though it is. And fuck me. And so, that's more alien stuff. There was one other major thing. Oh, okay, yeah. So I got swatted again by NBC4i, the local news station. So there's literally a local news station, NBC4i. They have a public phone line, and where it's like you can call NBC4i, or ABC4, we're on your side, NBC4i, we're gonna take your story, we're gonna tell the truth, and it's hilarious. It's just projection. You guys are complete hypocrites. And so I called the local news station, and the news anchor that records the thing is Jennifer Bullock, So I say, hey Jennifer, I Google her, see anything about her, and I literally, the first message, I maybe called them 3 times, maybe 3 times, all documented, recorded somewhere. And so I literally leave a message like, hey, I see your son has this, she had lost a son in early childhood, and I was like, hey, I will, it's called Miles' mission. And so I'm like, hey, I will give you personally $25,000 to report on the story, and I'll donate $25,000 to Miles' mission if you report on my story. It is completely legitimate, it's completely true. I've lost brick and mortar property because of this. I've lost all of my intellectual property. I lost all of my income potential. I've lost every relationship that I've worked for, where I endured abuse for years, and then they just casually push me out of social circles and say, well, we're living our own lives. It's like, people are so selfish and pathetic. The sense of community and morality is absent, just completely absent. And so I leave her that message, and then there's no response. So then 2 or 3 days later, after they're clearly not going to respond to me, I call back, and then I make a crude joke about her dead kid, and it's just like, I literally said something to the family, like, hope Miles is doing well, or something. Again, because again, my life is fucked. You have a professional obligation to do something. This is the public line, and fuck off. And so, then not 1 day later, bang, 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 bang on my door again. Bang, 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 bang on my door again. By 2 social workers in these big blue fucking vest looking things, and these chicks named Anastasia, I think it was Veronica, and some, again, 22-year-old fat chick who, again, her face is all scarred up with all this fucking acne, and she's like, just starts like yelling at me. She's like, we're here about you. Are you thinking about harming anybody or yourself? I'm just like, where the fuck is this even coming from? And they were like, you've been making some concerning phone calls to the local news station. It's a public fucking line to report crimes. Hey guys, if you need help, knock here, knock, knock. Oh my gosh, why are you at my door? I don't know. And so again, this bitch just starts going off like she has any authority over me. And so I got their license plate. They absolutely, they will be she threatened me. When you raise your voice to me on my property and you have no legitimate business in being on my property, that is a threat. And again, at some point you guys have to realize, you are the problem. You guys are not behaving properly. And so, the exact words, I literally made fun of one of I think Veronica was the fat one. I literally was like, in not a threatening tone, I was like, you're fat. And then people were like, what does that have to do with anything? You can't control your behavior, and you're projecting your insecurities onto me. Don't you see how that's your problem, not mine? Now you're on my property, threatening me again. Every 2 fucking months this shit happens. And so I have to try to establish a pattern inside this abuse. And that pattern is a job. It's just income. It's just a way to pay my bills. And so I literally just, again, in the most, schoolyard, not in any sort of intimidating way, just made fun of her for being fat. And so I was like, are you guys law enforcement? Get off my property. So I got their license plate. They'll be done. And then I call their probate services. And being treated like there's something wrong with me is just absolutely infuriating. My life is beautiful. What I have done with my intellect is fucking beautiful. And you guys are pathetic, insecure cowards that don't know how to behave. And me trying to break out of this cycle somehow a threat. But then I call this and I talk to Cara Rusfiner at Netcare Access. Again, all social work is more or less, again, unless it's like elderly people taking care of them, like any of this mental illness shit is people that do not know how to control their behavior. I've given you complete and total ability to track everything I do to stop these fucking interactions. It is hilariously illegal to do what you're doing, but then to not just sit there and let me tell you to fuck off every once in a while, because I'm actually trying to get out of this process of abuse, is literally threatening and endangering my life because of your actions. And so, she has a degree of mental illness, which is fraudulent, from Akron University and OSU. Again, that's fraud. But here's the thing. They said I was stalking, harassing, and threatening Jennifer Bullock. Because again, I made one crude joke about her deceased child, and I called her a whore. Because again, if you manipulate sex for personal attention, that's what a whore is. And so I can't imagine. Can anybody out there imagine if you're in a bar and someone profoundly disrespects you and you say you're a fucking whore? I don't even know how I said the word fuck. If you said you're a whore to somebody, would that cause any sort of police response or any sort of social response at all? No, you would just walk away from that person. But stalking Jennifer Bullock. So after I called her the first time, offering it might have been $100,000 to report on my story, she viewed my LinkedIn profile without private mode. So the only personal interaction I have ever had with Sandra Bullock is clicking on her LinkedIn profile after she clicked on mine to get her professional information to sue her. Like, then that gets translated to stalking. Insecure people will exaggerate to whatever level they can, punish the scapegoat to any authority they have, whether that's straight up lying. When I watch these pranksters on YouTube, somebody gets offended. Again, you can go into any private property, you can do trespassing from the store pretty much without reason. But if you steal intellectual property, there's no way to assert authority. But for some reason, if you have a brick and mortar store and you call the police are guaranteed going to be on your side. But if you just have the most prolific scientific derivation ever and brick and mortar and you say, people are stealing my shit, they'll swat you. And so that just, again, Brad's the scapegoat, fuck me. But that happened. So that's, again, Kara Rusfiner, and Netcare Access, Anastasia, and Veronica. But I said, do not call me again. Email me their legally identifying information for a lawsuit, to which they have not done obstruction of justice. And so, again, being called stalking and harassing and threatening for calling her a whore one time and making a crude joke about her kid, when in the reality, her not reporting on the news causes a lot of dead kids, is pretty appropriate. At some point, adults criticizing other adults have to be very fucking real about it. But not here in little playgrounds where we just play games all day. We just have fun with our friends all day. And then when we grow up, we don't have any values or morals. We just project our bullshit into the world and say, we're good people. Wee-hoo. And so that is pretty much it for the ongoing legal things. Again, I'm done doing, at least for today, not going to do talking points for just normal news stuff, but I will cover some more about the current cover-up about the UAPs and alien kind of stuff. So, on to the more, again, to the drop-down menu of the fraud, conspiracy, and racketeering going on. I so legitimately hate the subject because this one little aspect, again, you can't control the society you're born into. I couldn't control that you guys have been committing extreme crimes since the 1950s when I was born in 1993. Not much I can do about it. But again, like I said, every aspect of my life is destroyed because of ongoing criminal activity. So I figured I'd watch a lot of get another one of these hobby things. Like I said, clearly I know a lot of languages, and certainly, again, I derive in languages I don't even know semantically. But just to talk to people, just to have interactions that aren't profoundly disgusting, where I'm just denigrated and disrespect, are so fucking rare. And so I was on Omegle for like 2 days, and literally right before it got shut down. But I had this conversation with this dude named Jim. Just a fucking weird dude. He said he had autism or something, but it doesn't matter. I mean, being a polite, respectful person is pretty inconsequential to where you're on the spectrum. Now I'm on the right side of the smart spectrum. But he starts talking to me, and again, I'm literally when I'm on these websites, I'm literally just there to chat to people about whatever. And so I've been having a lot of conversation on there. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But this Jim dude, he's probably a little older than me. I don't know, 35, 40. But he's a stalker at a grocery store, and then he gets like all mad. Like, I told him I lived in Philadelphia for a year, and then he's like getting all like mad, but like, no, you didn't. I'm like, why would I lie about that? Why would you care? But it's just like, I'm literally just trying to talk to people. But then he clearly starts, again, I only bring up the alien stuff when I can tell it's somebody that is involved, that is poking at me. That is on these websites, again, these people interact with me all the time in a ton of different fucking ways. And so we start getting into this conversation, and again, clearly he knows something. And so the fact that I can't be read into my own fucking discovery is fucking disgusting. And it will be remembered by history as one of the most atrocious events in human history ever, if not the most atrocious. The unification of natural science happens once, and that was done on your desk, proven with complete validity as of February 17th-ish, 2017. And so, but he clearly knows stuff, and he's just like, how do they know some of them are from the Orion Belt? They can track some moderate directions, and they might have, more hidden data about habitable planets that's been publicly released. There was a couple different conversations, but it has now been confirmed to me that it's, again, we don't ever have to talk about this subject if you want. All I want is an income. But the alien versus human doesn't even make much sense to me. Because, right, if there was a species inherent to under the ground, but you can have another conversation with somebody where it was like, again, they can pick up the words. And so it's like, even when you're thinking, mind control is not real. Because that is axiomatically just not true. There wouldn't be different individuals if any sense of mind control is real. So I hate the term mind control. Mind reading is definitely real, but it's just still like tuning into a radio. Thinking is a physical process, and you can map that to pick out what the words that you were thinking. And so, if humans would be the aliens if there was an indigenous species that lived within the Earth to any extent. And so the crust and the mantle seems to be a differentiation. And it's very true, because it's like, look at all of these, the underground things in Peru, or the underground pieces to like the pyramids, or just all these different deep underground things. A lot of them would be surfacing. And that's why a lot of I would say, again, super ballpark, could be flat out wrong on the percentages, but I would say 70% of the craft come from Earth, but somewhere in the water. They're not human-made. Human doesn't mean much to me. Alien doesn't mean much to me. So again, I would call it exotic, is anything just extremely not anatomically similar to us. Tons of species, tons of civilization. There's some sort of federation. They are, again, confirmed to me at Grafton Park. They told me that they know they're like in our government as well. And so that is all real and confirmed. We talked about bioluminescence. Some of them can glow, but some of the cattle mutilations is kind of just dinner or something. We talked a little bit about Skinwalker Ranch, but the gym dude gets like mad at me. He's like, "You haven't had regular interactions." And again, yes, I have. You guys are so delusional. Let's just talk about calculus or algebra or the financial markets, and you will easily demonstrate how you are incompetent. And I have zero desire to discuss this subject with people who are just coming from no ability to listen and no ability to respect my authority as a scientist. I prove these things. The things I do is proof. It's not speculation. It's not hypothesizing. It's fact. And so, some of them it can glow. Like I said, I saw a tall white, and it was definitely glowing, pretty slender. At HQ Flats, I 100% saw what I would call a werewolf. Like a bipedal thing that looked exactly like a human being, walk into the dog park, and then boom, by the time that it was at the end of the dog park, it was like a dog. Like literally. And so I've seen that, which again, you guys, I've already given you the order to record everything I do in time. So a lot of these things I do, I drive, and then I look it up, and it's actually fucking out there. And so I'd seen the what I would call a werewolf-looking thing to, probably about 10 months before I ever really looked into what Skinwalker Ranch was. And so then Skinwalker Ranch talks about, the things that kind of like go into like werewolf or something, or like shape-shifting. And it's like, I've definitely seen that before I even knew what it was. And so to tell me my experiences aren't legitimate, I don't care. Like, to me, knowing there's other intelligent life forms out there or amongst us is assumed from me. Like, it's like I've never been an extremely selfish, delusional person. So to think human beings are the only intelligent species out there is delusional. And so it's like, okay, sweet. Again, then it's how many dogs, how many cats, how many species of trees are there. It's not that new to me. It's not that different. The difference is for the major public is to get over their own selfishness. But then he's just like telling me, then we talked about, again, I told you the Bob Evans stories where 100% I was given like a mosquito encased in amber, literally exactly like Jurassic Park. And then another more was just like a cheap kind of plasticky thing. And I would have, like, polyethylene maybe. I don't know if there was any significance to it. But looking back, knowing exactly, again, when I have these interactions now, it's like, this is the exact interaction I had with this dude. I could just tell he knew something. And at that time, I've been so entrenched in this abuse cycle that ever being able to identify as a mathematician is impossible, even though I'm the most prolific one ever. And so that is fun. But anything else from Jim? Again, this conversation was a while ago. But then we literally get to the end of the conversation, and I forget. I literally didn't write it down because this stuff is. It's already. Jim didn't really know much more than I already know, and so he said, "Oh." So when people are like, "How could human beings cover up the aliens so efficiently?" And the exact words out of Jim's mouth, and you could tell he slipped up. He wasn't supposed to say this. He said, "They help us." So that makes so much more sense. If people are like, something would leak. Well, it's like, not if they have help from the species that don't want you disclosure. And so I don't really know the extent of, they certainly have like individual to individual interaction, human to non-human, some sort of collection. It's very transactional. It's not like they're here. It's not some big kumbaya party. A lot of them like it a little hotter. That's why you have Skinwalker Ranch and a lot of sightings in the deserts. Those tall whites were there. There was a story I watched of a guy that was definitely true. I forget which one. We probably talked about that a little bit. And like I said, I've definitely seen a lot of interactions of just things that believe exactly like humans, and a couple, like I said, the tall white's probably the most exotic I've seen, but it was very like glowing. It was like a tall, thin, probably definitely bigger than the door frame, probably like 9 foot tall, I'd say, 8 to 9 foot tall, and just like glowing. And so you just catch it out of the corner of your eye, you see it, and then boom, it's gone real quick. But again, the number of species and the differences is irrelevant and redundant to me. If you guys aren't just gonna straight up tell me what you know, it's no point for me to speculate. But again, free will and choice is absolutely 100% legitimate. I saw another clip, somebody saying, in his experience, they have no sense of self and it's all just one. That's axiomatically incorrect. Everyone would have a sense of self. My approximation for, again, a complete societal maturity, meaning everyone has technology, everyone has jobs, healthcare, and they can really just focus on identity and creation, you're going to have about an 80% maturity throughout the entire species. So you would certainly have connection in any group that you're interacting with now, unless it's just some vagabond species, is like purposefully sent. So they'll be trained, they'll have this, they'll have that, blah, blah, blah. And so they would have a lot more unity and what the experience would be, as opposed to saying that they don't have a sense of self. Every organism has a sense of individuality. And so, but Jim also talked about unprovoked attacks. And so again, after Jim says my experiences aren't real, I was like, well, do you have any? And he's like, well, yeah. So again, clearly a part of some program or something, but very, very rude person. But it was an interesting enough conversation to hold on to it for a while. But he talked about some like old guy, his eyes go black, and he kind of like attacks him, like kind of like strangles at him. To which point I say, you kill them. It doesn't matter what species. If somebody threatens your life, you protect yourself. And so Jim had a hard time understanding the difference between murder and killing in defense. But he said there was a human light with black eyes. And then we were talking about, so he said, I've had interactions here and there. It's like, no, and I'm done trying to convince a bunch of fucking cooped out Looney Tunes that happen to be government officials that they're not fucking absolute fucking idiots. And it's just disrespectful. And just because you didn't upload a video of you fucking your wife doesn't mean you don't do it. Even though your bedrooms are probably dead because you guys are so broken in your identity and your careers that you guys are all stressed out all the time. Send her over, I'll lay down the pipe. Not very good, but I am still a virgin. That is completely, absolutely true. But he did confirm to me 100% that, so again, now we're talking about intelligent human life, or non-human life. And so Jim also confirmed to me directly that they found a sponge-like creature on Titan. So there was confirmed to me life on Titan, the moon of Jupiter or Saturn, whatever one. That would be, how is that not publicly disclosed? Like, that is not even like a big step. It's like, so it's like there's even steps way before saying there's aliens everywhere type of deal, as opposed to, we would say there's a sponge-like creature, the definitive life on Titan, before we would say there's definitive non-human life on Earth that are amongst us and cooperate with us to some degree. And again, like I said, it's like a gas station. It's some sort of transaction. And then I have heavy intuition that there's a big population in Venus or around Venus. Obviously, any of the hotter planets, again, I don't know how much hotter the different species like it, but Venus definitely strikes me as there's something there. But he did confirm to me that a sponge-like creature exists on Titan. So there's life confirmed that is non-intelligent, that the public doesn't even know about. And you're going to send kids to school to go learn about science and just lie about absolutely everything? It's fraud, man. It's fraud at the highest level. Hundreds of thousands of people are involved. And all I care about is getting my money. But I haven't seen their eyes go black. I have seen my brother's eyes go black and want to threaten me or wish me dead. I've seen my mother's eyes go black and get offended and call me a threat and blah, blah, blah. But I've not seen, again, if you're not doing anything wrong, then Jim's like, well, why would they do this? Well, it's like if you're a part of a program on a planet where species like murders fucking everywhere, and you guys are lying about science, and again, there's different sects. It's not like it's just like one big group of alien. And so there's some that want disclosure, there's some that don't. It's all an intermingle. There's bona fide facts that I don't know, which I'm not going to try to speculate on, and it's criminal not to let me in. I'll do whatever you want to be able to know about my own identity of what is going on around me. That would never happen. But unprovoked attacks, again, define unprovoked. Lying about science and endangering life is not unprovoked. And if you're a part of a group of people that feel no responsibility for their actions, well, you're just not going to care.
And that is pretty much everything. And so that was with Jim. We've had several more. I talked with this girl from, I think it was Jordan for a while, and she definitely knew something. It was like pretty much like the next day after Jim. And so I can pretty much get a good, even if it's just about normal things, a pretty long, good, interesting, long conversation just from these random chat websites. As long as you can click through all the dicks first. But I talked to this chick, and I want you guys to see me having these normal conversations where it's like, literally at the end of this conversation, talk to this girl for about like, I don't know, 40 minutes to an hour, just about whatever. She clearly had some reference, because just out of nowhere, people will start saying, like in my emailing derivation, I reference Medusa. And these are all of just things that have stuck me out to me intuitively, and everything else that I've done intuitively has been the solution to the Riemann hypothesis, unifying the number fields, blah, blah, blah. And so, without provocation, again, these aren't things that I solicit. I am literally on there doing geography games, like Lingualizer and Voltor Kodor, or whatever the Dutch dude is, just guessing languages, guessing ethnicity, and talking about whatever the person I'm talking with wants to talk about. That is it. I don't bring up the alien stuff unless people really, again, give me heavy indication or directly start talking to me about it. And again, in a fashion where it's like, this person has been, there's some dude in a khaki pants like, Brad's going live in 5, 4, 3, 2, and then they switch on to somebody that's directly with the group. And so, but at the end of the conversation, she like starts referencing Medusa, and she goes, I want to meet Persephone. Again, just from the lore, but it's, again, I literally was like, I think Medusa's in the water, and she's literally like, Medusa is not in the water. And so again, I've had interactions, again, clearly non-humans, like, why was all this intelligence wasted on a male? And so there's some prominent, again, they have rank, all of the different species have society, just like we do in terms of job rank, authority, respect, so everything like that. And so, got some more information that, again, there's I don't say a controlling, but at least certainly a dominant presence amongst, as an individual female, or a group of females, but it's probably a mixture of both male and female. But again, I think species tend to skew predominantly 60-40 female at technological maturity. And so I had that conversation with, I'm going to butcher her name. It was like Reba or Rahab or something, but just called her Rhea. But at the end of the conversation, she was like literally you're like literally the most chill dude that I've ever interacted with. Because again, the only thing that causes anyone to call me a threat or concern is when I can't pay my bills comfortably because the most absurd crime ever is being committed by hundreds of thousands of people. And again, no publication, one opportunity, one time to comfortably make money and to make my videos. Is all I'd ever need. But then I had another really, really interesting interaction. I'm trying to remember again word for word. So I'm talking to this guy, and once again, he starts, what did he say verbatim? So I went to Ohm TV, and this guy, this is in the past couple days. It's like right off the rip, he just started to talk to me about this alien stuff. And again, it's not that big of an interest to me. It's like I can't control it. Like, what do you want me to do? And so all I want is some way to make money. Like, I've given up on ever having a career, like a family, like, or a meaningful career, because I'll never get an opportunity. One opportunity, one time, I'd never get treated like this again. But I'm talking to this guy. Again, all of this stuff is pretty consistent with what I already know. Like, if you're not just going to lay out the stuff, and I don't care about UAPs, I care more about the history and lineages of what you guys know about them. He literally goes, again, I forget, trivial stuff about aliens that I already know, and then he literally, word for word, without provocation or solicitation, goes, it's the reptilians, which I'm assuming meaning with holding back or kind of like restricting publication of those really involved in at least the presence of non-human intelligence here. And so that has now been confirmed to me, and again, reptilian simply meaning something more like a reptile, maybe with denser skin. Good blood temperature, right? There's hot and cold animals or blood types, so again, a lot of them, if they needed hotter, might also not be able to control their body temperature. They may not be cold-blooded, or they might be cold-blooded, not warm-blooded. Again, they might just have different features in terms of more close to a reptile, bigger teeth, how many lobes of the liver, and what are the other one? The heart might be, very similar in terms of, again, reptiles and amphibians. I'm definitely aware of an amphibious species, 100% for real. Again, I thought it was whoever was with the Medusa, but it doesn't seem to be true. But but he literally word for word, and again another one of these times where it says, like when I was talking with the dude Jim, he's like, at the end of the conversation, Jim literally said, I have to get off of here. My boss has already said I've said too much, which is just fucking hilarious because if you have restricted science, you are not a friend of mine, you are not a friend of the species, and you're not a friend of this planet. And so if it was up to me, and it should be up to me, those people would be hunted and gutted instantly. And so if you restrict pertinent fundamental scientific information, you are killing, and that needs to be punished with reciprocity. And so no individual or species that has denied or restricted scientific publication is a friend of this earth, which is way more important than being a friend of me or being a friend of our species. And so that's that. But again, Jim literally said I had to get off of here because my boss said I already said too much, to the reference of him slipping out, and they help us in terms of kind of like the cover-up or at least retrieval and blah, blah, blah. And so I do believe that multiple human countries have operating spaceships as well as the inoperable ones. Certainly have biological evidence. Certainly there's living non-humans here. So it's just the level, it's just seeing, again, all different levels of compartmentalization, all different levels of, clearance and whatever. But it's time to tell the truth about science. It really is. And so, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Okay, don't publish. Just like, America's fuck you, where's mine? So where's mine? And past that, fuck you. So I don't care what you guys do. I don't care about disclosure. All I want is some way to pay my bills and maybe have a family. Because right now, if I got a girlfriend, I couldn't date her. I couldn't afford a kid. Can't afford a dog, man. And so, it's really the invisible child prank where people just continue to act like I don't exist, even though the research affects every single person that has a credential or a licensure from a state or from a university or from an authoritative body. And so, definitely wanted to cover the biggest thing on the aliens was, again, the confirmation of a sponge-like life creature that is literally on the moon of Titan, which is not intelligent life, but it's still not been disclosed, and all of the other things that we just went through. So at the end, again, I'm normalizing. I'm just trying to find a job. I'm normalizing a pattern, trying to normalize a pattern in this most abusive and fraudulent criminal environment that's basically one of the most prolific crimes, if not the most prolific crime that has ever occurred. I am the victim of all of it. And all I want is a job. One person give me one opportunity one time, and my life would change forever. But I just got to watch people on YouTube just live the life that I've rightfully earned. I get to know people personally that have personal connections to law enforcement that have done literally nothing to help me. Again, I've exhausted. The FBI won't even let me call them anymore. They make fun of me and mock me, and they're directly committing crimes. Again, they've told me in person that they're not going to do anything. You could take that paper and publish it anywhere. Cleared the belt and said, what, Constitution? Literally. And so, it is just insane. But we'll finish with some more quotes from the FBI the last time they picked up. I referenced I called Detroit office, and I asked him if he had a sworn oath to the United States Constitution, and he literally shrieks and goes, what does that have to do with anything? It has to do with everything, because that's your job. So again, I'm just dealing with from 20 to 80-year-old delusional children. And then I had another operator, she got offended when I called her an operator, but an agent. She's like, I'm just letting you get it out. And like me yelling at her to do her job. It's like, there's nothing to get out, do your job. Like, actually go enforce the law. But nope. And then the male Detroit operator, they wouldn't give me their number, their legal identifying information, which is obstruction of justice. And he literally goes, sounds like you're a judge then. Yes, I am the highest ranking judge based off merit that has ever existed in the human species, and probably for a long, long time elsewhere. So again, at some point, the insubordinate little children that are 60 years old have to listen to the rules. They have to play the game. They have to play fair with other kiddos. And I called DC again, and this chick gets mad at me, and she goes, I can and will disconnect the call. You can and you will, and you will be committing obstruction of justice. So keep confidently committing crimes as literal federal agents. The United States Constitution is an absolute fucking joke. Anybody who says that education is good in the United States is committing fraud. Anybody about lying about history to any capacity. I love it. At this point, I love that you guys keep uploading podcasts. How many times is Andrew Huberman and Lex Friedman going to talk? How many times is Joe Rogan and some bumfuck idiot going to talk? At some point, you guys have to stop lying. Until one person gives me one opportunity one time, I will suffer like this every 2 days, 2 months, and 2 years. And if that stopped today, I've already endured it for 30. And so I'd appreciate just one financial opportunity. If anything about any of this presentation confused you, I just want some way to make some money. I have a ton of credentials, I have a ton of skill sets, I have real property. I need one person to do one thing, one time, and my life I never get abused like this again. And it is torture. I'm literally getting tortured. Abandoned by my family, abandoned by my friends, abandoned by my community, abandoned by the state, abandoned by the nation, abandoned by the human rights organizations. Just completely denied. And so it is torture, it has ruined my life, and I absolutely see no end in sight. So I have to normalize a pattern of abuse, try to get the best job I can, which is impossible. So as long as I can scrape by with $2,000 to $3,000 a month, I should again be able to stay afloat. I'm sure something will happen and I'll fuck up and I'll lose my money again. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one. For my YouTube channel, again, once I can normalize abuse and just get some sort of job that's stable enough where, I'm going to request a transfer within the country club that I'm at. And they have a lot of connections to other businesses, so it's like, to some way, please, even if it's through the job that I have right now, somebody help me. Please help me. But I do want to keep at least 1 to 2 YouTube videos a week. Again, it just depends. On days that I work doubles, I just have no time nor interest, really. And there's a lot of other types of content that I would like to make that would need an operating budget. I don't have great editing skills. I'd either hire an editor, or I'd like to hire, again, where I can have a high quality lavalier microphone. I just can't afford any of that right now. And so, again, restriction of the Constitution, my constitutional rights, and more importantly, just fucking money, has made everything I've ever worked for come to a screeching halt. I mean, people say, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I've never made a step forward. It's just a bunch of steps back because I'm the invisible child. People just act like I don't exist. And the only time they'll interact with me personally is to assert authority over me and punish the scapegoat. That is literally it, continuously for 30 years. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one.